Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Yo, man, don't FK around with Turki, Alalshikh. Yeah, Bud Crawford, you don't want to come out there and be stubborn and have the independent type attitude that you like to carry on with, messing around with them guys in Saudi. Now, Terence Crawford is in a very interesting situation. And there's some pros and cons to it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a favorite fighter. My two favorite fighters were Zab Judah and Chris Bird. The reason Zab Judah and Chris Bird were my two favorite fighters is because when I did mess around a little bit in the boxing gym, I was a right-handed fighter, but, I was always comfortable fighting southpaw. And with Zab Judah, I learned how to throw that lead left uppercut. I have super fast hands, and when I was out there sparring or I had a couple fights, local stuff, you know what I'm saying? That left hand, it didn't matter. I sparred all over the world because I was in the military. That damn left hand would get there. And then with Chris Bird, because of his defense, I was always amazed at how he, bubbled up from a much lighter weight and went up to heavyweight and just was giving those guys hell. So when I say I'm rooting for Terence Crawford, don't for one second think, he's biased to Terence Crawford. No, I'm not. But I am rooting for him because when I look at his situation, I just think we can point the finger at him all we want. You know what I'm saying? But this is the thing. You got to understand my background, right? And retired military dude. Been in a lot of leadership positions. But I was in a lot of positions as a young guy where I was learning. And I could understand Terence Crawford and how people say, well, he made mistakes, but I also see how people say Bob Arum failed him. Because when I was a young guy and it was coming up, you want people to train you. They got to show you the right way. This is how we do things. You know what I'm saying? Mentoring you. And it does sound like there was some mentorship there for Terence Crawford. But at the same time, when I was coming up, there were some things they could tell me, and I either chose to do it or I chose not to do it. And by choosing not to do some things, I ended up falling flat on my face. And that's where I got my experience. With Terence Crawford, it looks like there were some things they asked him to do, being a bit more open, a bit more vocal, being available for the camera, and working on his marketability to self-promote. Looks like he didn't want to do a lot of that stuff, or he did it to a level to where he was comfortable. All right, but I think in a certain instance, he kind of fell on his face a little bit as far as not helping himself as much as he could, kind of like with me. I was told to follow things from instructions, pamphlets, regulations, and a lot of time I just went off of my experience and knowledge instead of referring to the book. And sometimes you realize, oh shit, this process changed, and you do it wrong. But what happened with me, like Terence Crawford, right, is there's still some onus on the leadership to continue molding and trying to develop the individual. So when I look at Bob Arum, I just, like with me, I would have never, once I got to certain positions, have members junior to me. I would never go out to the public and just slander them like what Bob Arum did to Terence Crawford. But that being said, when you reach the point to where we are now, especially where I reached in my career before I retired, I had learned from all my experiences, good and bad. And I said, okay, I need to commit. If I want to go all the way, I have to commit. What is it these people are telling me to do? You know what I'm saying? Because they laid the blueprint out there for me. I just had to follow it. And not many people want to follow it. Okay? Now, in my case, it was not just knowing your job, but taking care of your people, staying fit, your education, community involvement, and really, 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 man, sometimes you got to get out there, you got to and lead. You got to lead, right? But then bring your people along. And when you look at Terence Crawford and kind of what was expected for him, the blueprint was laid out. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you got to go out there, self-promote. You know what I mean? You got to be available. Get involved in the community. You know, of course, you got to keep winning, keep training. You know what I mean? And he did. I think he did a whole lot of winning, a whole lot of training. But in the other areas, I think he did what he felt was enough. But when you look where he's at now, we got to ask ourselves. You got Turki Alalshikh wanting to bring Terence Crawford over to Saudi. That's what the word is, right? But ask yourself, is Terence Crawford disciplined enough? Has he learned from his experiences to not F around with Turki Alalshikh and be like, you know what? I understand what they're asking me to do, but I only want to go this far with what they're requesting of me. You know what I'm saying? Is he still going to be like how I was as a young man coming up in the military, who the supervisors and the leadership had certain expectations from me, and I was like, well, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of that, but I'm not so comfortable, so I'm going to do some things my way. And ended up falling on my face. Terence Crawford had some of that in him. Does he still have that in him? Because I just don't think he can afford to fall on his face at this point in his career. Yeah, he's a multimillionaire. Yeah, he's got real estate. He doesn't need boxing. But if you want to get, in my opinion, if he wants to get those last few mega paydays, this is where he's got to be like, all right, I need to commit. What is it these people for all these years have been asking me to do, and now what is Turki Alalshikh asking me to do? And to me, he should do it. Simple. It's unless he's asking him to commit to a 10-fight deal or something ridiculous, you know what I mean? But commit to it. If it's within reason. If not, don't go halfway, because you can't F around with Turki Alalshikh. Now, there was a comment posted about, hey, Bud should be okay working with the Saudis if he doesn't try to do to them what he did to Al Haymon. Basically saying, hey, negotiating a fight with Earl Spence and then bounce and do something different without telling him. Now, I'm going to tell you, I understood why Terence Crawford did what he did fighting Evander. I understand there was some shit going on over there on the PBC side. I totally understand. But I understand, Crawford had his pokers in the fire too. And he said, you know what? I guess they weren't taking him serious because he was trying to handle things himself. And he was like, you know what, man? I'm not going to play this game. I got this other poker in the fire that's heated up. It's super hot right now. It's crimson red. I'm going to go ahead and strike that. That's what he did. Made a little dough. Came back. Made the fight with Spence. With Turki Alalshikh, ain't none of that going on. Turki Alalshikh looking to penalize you. It could be financially. Could be by saying, hey, you can't come here and fight. We don't want you. Or it could be off with his head, So Crawford better be careful playing around. But I think he has a good rapport with the people in Saudi. And he's in a very unique position as being the pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And at the same time, Turki Alalshikh doesn't want to lose Crawford. But I do think Crawford needs to be realistic about what he wants for himself going forward. Because I'd hate for him to get out there messing around with them Saudis and not just miss out on the payday, but it sends a message to everyone in the boxing community that this man ain't learned his lessons. He's still out here being stubborn, out here being complicated and making it impossible for anyone to want to get behind him. Because at the end of the day, even the Saudis are looking at pay-per-view sales now. Everyone is looking at pay-per-view. Everybody wants to make some money. Even though the Saudis have endless money, they want to make some money. It's a business, you know what I'm saying? And for Terence Crawford, I think he's going to have to get in front of that camera a bit more. And out there in Saudi, he may have to do some commercials. He may have to come out and openly speak positively about Saudi Arabia. If you watch Tyson Fury and Eddie Hearn and these guys, and everyone who's over there in Saudi, they speak very positively about Saudi Arabia. Even touch on some of the, I would say, how the Western world sees as atrocities that are taking place over there. They don't get specific, but they just say, hey, come and see for yourself. You know, they tap dance around it because they know they got to watch what they say. But with Terence Crawford, you know, he may have to come out there and say Saudi is great, it's beautiful, the people, the culture. You guys need to just come see it for yourself. It's not what is depicted in the media. He may have to say some stuff like that. But the bottom line is, if you're going to do it, go all out. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to be a monkey, be a gorilla. You know what I mean? You know, don't go out here and pussycat around, be a lion. You understand? That's how I see it. Bottom line, don't F around. Commit. Make your dough. That may be this one or two fights over there, maybe your retirement fights, and then be out. But don't F around with Turki Alalshikh and them Saudis in the breeze.